I told Chris Baranski, our AV guy, that he didn't need to come tonight. And now I'm running into like every AV problem imaginable. Hi,
It
Sam.
will clear up. It will all clear up.
So now I'm trying to get the screen on in here. So just bear with me for another minute or so. Hopefully I'll figure it out.
Technical. Not able to get the screen. Able to see me.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Hemant. And Hemant, while you're doing your introduction and whatnot, I'm going to be getting the video ready because I don't have that ready yet.
Can I share right now my screen?
Of course. And so just to let you know, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 people in the Gampa, and then the folks on Zoom and YouTube as well. So that's
Yeah,
awesome.
so Linda, it says the host disabled participants.
Oh, yeah. Hang on, let me make you co-host. You guys are so patient. Thank you. All right, now you should be able to share your screen, Heyman.
Okay, I think I'm going to be. And, all right. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we
Great.
sure can. Yes.
All right, so you work on the video. We'll watch the introductory video, but let me start with some introductions.
Heyman, actually, in order for me to look on my computer for the video, whatever I'm doing on my computer will be on the screen here.
So I can just leave it here and you can go ahead and then I can go back to this, right? Or do I
Yes.
need to get out?
No, you're good. Okay, Heyman, we're good now.
All right, so first of all, let me start by welcoming everyone. And, they say that if there are a few obscurations before we start, actually, it's a good sign. We're getting rid of all the bad stuff up front. So now we can be clear. So this is all good. And you know what? It's the first teaching on having patience, right?
It's so true, Heyman. It happens when Lama Zopa Rinpoche came and when Khensa Rinpoche came and now when we start establishing a daily practice, DB module. So
It's all good. See, that means it's
it's
good
all very
sign.
auspicious.
Okay. Well,
Okay,
thank
go
you
ahead.
so much. Yeah, and all those people in the center, thank you for being there. I'm not coming to the center for the reason that very recently, my wife and I both, the COVID decided to partner with us a little bit, and we both got sick. I've had every booster shot for in the entire 3 years. I've never had COVID or any problem, but I went for my cataract surgery. Apparently, I was in the surgery center. We were waiting, and I think somebody decided to say, "Hey, take it with you home." So I was quite sick for about a week, and I was worried about this class. But as everything goes, a few obstacles come, but it also vanishes. And I'm no more fever. I don't have a fever. I'm doing fine. Occasionally, it reminds me that it was there, but I'm doing fine. But I didn't want to come to the center having recently have had COVID, and I want to make sure I don't infect anybody or get sick again. But with that in mind, I'm very excited to have this class to be able to share some notes with you. Some of you are avid practitioners. Some of you may be new. Some of us are here just to be curious, what is this all about? For whatever reason you're here, and there are some people with avid practices already in place. Maybe it will tweak few things for us. Maybe it will remind us few things. And for those that are new, this is a great place to start realizing, especially in the beginning of the year, to start this coming year with having practices established. So with that in mind, let me see if I can move forward. Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. So obviously I am Hemant Pandya, Discovering Buddhism teacher for this particular module, module 8, establishing the daily practice. And we all know Linda Shah. She's everything. So she's she's everywhere and does everything. Uh, so as typically we start with a prostration, but before we do, or I would like to, because this is establishing the daily practice, it's a good reminder why we prostrate. This is something some people feel uncomfortable about. You know, I am working with my mind. Why do I need to prostrate to anybody? Or why do I need to prostrate, right? We think like that sometimes. But think of it this way. You are not prostrating to anyone. You are basically humbling yourself. You are respecting the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So these are the triple gems, right? And so there's a technique. It does a couple of things for us when you prostrate. Besides health benefits, it does humble us. It gives us this is a wish that I want to open my mind to the teachings. Please help me. So that's how we say it. And to be very technical, a lot of times I did a lot of looking into this, that we say the words Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Shushriye, Namo Uttama Shriye Soha. Okay, and it means Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. But Namo means to homage, give homage. Manjushriye, or the glorious, peaceful one, that refers to the Buddha. The Susriye, Su is noble or good. Shri is glorious, referring to the Dharma. Uttama Shriye, glorious and unsurpassed, referring to the Sangha. So that typically you can see in the picture here, we also have our hands folded like this. And there's a little meaning behind it. When you are actually doing these prostrations, you're removing your negative karma, you're developing good qualities, and you're respecting the three gems, and you're paying homage to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The left hand represents wisdom, okay? And the right hand represents method, how we function. When you bring it together, it's method and wisdom, or wisdom and method. The thumbs inside your hand represent the jewels, and the space around your hand represents the ultimate truth. And so when you're offering, you're basically going on top of your head, and then you go Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye at your heart, Uttamashriye, Soha, and back up. And you can do full prostrations, half prostrations, and for those of us are sitting in the chair in your house, you can mentally do these prostrations. So let's do a mental prostrations, and those who can get up and do a 3 prostrations, please feel free to do so. And all you're doing is you're just developing your own qualities and respecting and paying homage to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Tamashriye Soha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Tamashriye Soha. Om Namo Manjushriye, Namo Sushriye, Namo Tamashriye Soha. Okay. And whenever you are at the, when you go from crown to the forehead, you are supposed to see a body of white light. Throat is the speech, and the heart is a blue mind. Speech is like a red in color. So always they have a white, red, and blue. And so forehead is the white light for the body. Speech is the red for throat, and heart is the blue, which is for the mind. So I thought it was important that we do this for like a parrot. We just do it because this is establishing the daily practice. It's important to know why we do this, why we pay homage. Okay. So the plan for today, it's going to be a very introductory session today. We will really get going with establishing the daily practices and talk about it in a minute in the next class. But today we need to get a little fundamental basics understanding of why we are establishing the daily practice. We'll set the intention in a few minutes. We'll get an overview of this program, what to expect in coming weeks. And then, if not today, the next session will start with a general advice that Lama Zopa Rinpoche has put it together, and the purpose of the daily practice. And then we'll do closing meditation or dedication, depending on how it goes, okay? So do you want to start the video now, or can I keep going, Linda?
We can start the video now if you're ready.
So this is an introductory video, couple of minutes, gives us a great place to start. And then right after the video, we'll do a little calm abiding meditation and set up our motivation, okay? So go ahead, Linda.
Okay, sounds good. And if someone on Zoom, once I start the video, I won't be able to see because I'll be in, oh, Hemant, you'll have to stop sharing your screen real quick.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Thanks. Yes. Okay, so once I start, let's see, Rainey, you're on. Yeah, or Dawn, either one. Once I start the video, since it's going to be in full screen, I won't be able to see the chat or anything. So once it starts, if you can hear it, just unmute and let me know and just say, yes, I can hear it. That would be helpful.
No, we cannot hear.
Me either. Hang on.
You may need to click the volume button.
Yes.
Now, yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rome wasn't built in a day. We could also say enlightenment isn't built in a day, but is built as a result of a day-to-day effort. In other words, the only thing that'll get us anywhere on the spiritual path, whether it's concentration, loving kindness, or wisdom that we want to develop, is dedicating ourselves to a daily practice. We take for granted that Olympic athletes and professional musicians train daily to achieve mastery of their sport or music. Why wouldn't the same discipline apply to cultivating the most important qualities of our mind? If we want to develop patience, honesty, morality, and wisdom, we have to make a sustained effort. In this show, we'll learn methods to develop our daily practice on and off the cushion through every part of our lives.
So what does a daily practice mean? What does it mean to practice? If, as the Buddha said, it's true that we have been cycling in samsara, cyclic existence, for infinite number of lifetimes, what we have been practicing, as evidenced by the fact that we're still here in samsara, has been non-virtue and self-cherishing. What we need to do to remedy this situation is to develop a new habit by practicing virtue and cherishing others. So before listening to these teachings, establish in your mind a very strong motivation to be able not only to understand what it means to have a daily practice, but to establish one in your life, a workable daily practice, as quickly as possible, so that you may be able to benefit all living beings as quickly as possible.
把它作为双落在见的作为就是因缘双。So how do I carry out my practice in this life? How do I summarize all the practices of the path to enlightenment in my life? So this is the first. You have 5 forces to apply. This is the first, the force of resolution. Set a strong intentions, a strong resolution in the morning. Okay, so this you have to apply this right in the morning, as soon as you open your eyes, as soon as you wake up, you open your eyes before doing anything else. You just hook up with your mind and set your resolution. So right now, also this morning, I'm alive. I have all the favorable circumstances in my life, all the freedoms and endowment in order to progress and practice the path to enlightenment and to benefit all sentient beings. Therefore, as much as I can, as much as I live throughout the day, I'm not going to let my mind under the power of delusions, and I'm not going to harm any sentient beings, and I'm going to be as helpful as possible to all sentient beings. So now the next is the force of the white seed. The force of the white seed is the aim of achieving the supreme enlightenment in order to benefit all mother sentient beings and oneself, for oneself and other purposes, engaging as much as possible throughout the day in practice to purify the previously accumulated negative potentials or karma, and accumulating virtuous actions or merits, what we call merits. So these are called the white seed. So what is the best way then to quickly accumulate merits without making so much effort? Rejoice. And rejoicing is an incredible beneficial practice. It allows you to accumulate such a huge mass of merits just with the force of your thought, without engaging in any physical or strenuous, difficult practices or activities, just rejoicing of the virtues accumulated by others, by oneself and others. It becomes extremely powerful to swiftly complete the accumulation of merits without so much struggle. You rejoice of your virtues, you rejoice of other people's virtues, you rejoice of the virtues of the bodhisattvas, of the Buddhas, of the gurus. The more you think in detail and vast you are, the vaster and bigger is by way of rejoicing you, the merits keep accumulating and accumulating. This is a very good practice. If you undertake whatever, even the smallest positive action you do, it acts as purifier for those previously accumulated negative karma. More specific, there are lots of very powerful practices and techniques, such as doing prostrations, taking refuge, reciting what is called the Tunsha, the general confession practice, the practice related to the 35 Buddhas, Vajrasattva meditation and recitation, even just the mantra, and so on and so forth. And the third is the force of familiarity. It means that you constantly have to take to your mind the practices of the path to enlightenment, especially the steps to generate bodhicitta, and as well as purifying, accumulating merits, until it becomes spontaneous for you. You don't need any, it's not a contrived thought. You have to bring it to your mind constantly, so you become so familiar with that particular kind of attitude and behavior that you constantly are reminded of the path to enlightenment. So this is the power, the force of familiarity. So the fourth is the force or the power of rejection, and this in general, it refers to all types of delusions. So always keep a constant awareness of delusions and their disadvantages for you in order to eliminate it, but particularly be mindful of self-cherishing thought, of egoism, and do not let the power of rejection is do not let yourself being taken under the power of self-cherishing thought from now on as much as you can. So this is the power of rejection. So now the force of prayer or dedication. So at the time just before going to sleep, then you apply the last force. All right, you review your day on the basis of your first determination in the morning. So what happened today? How did I accumulate any virtuous action? Was I been taken under the power of delusions? Did I accumulate virtuous actions? Was I able to apply the antidotes and to overcome self-cherishing thought and so on and so forth? So you have to analyze very sincerely, focus on whatever negativities I have accumulated today. I've done it for this and this and this. So therefore, I'm going to purify it right now, and tomorrow I will be more mindful. You make a strong determination again tomorrow. I'm not going to repeat the same mistake. And whatever virtues you have accumulated, you review it and you rejoice. So that was very good. I've done it very nicely. I was able to face my mind. I was able to decrease delusions. I was able to do this and this and virtuous action. This is fantastic. Tomorrow I'll do even better. So before going to bed, you do this review. This was a very short explanation on how to carry out the practices, how to summarize the practice in one's life on the basis of a daily practice from morning up to night. So this is for what we call daily practices.
One other thing that's very important in daily practice is purification. Because even if we do have the intention to be helpful to others and not do things that are harmful or negative, create bad karma and so on, we are just human beings. We have our faults, our imperfections, our limitations, and so we're bound to make mistakes and lose our temper, get angry, or get caught up in negative thoughts and speak in negative ways or do things negative. So, so there's something we can do about that when we do make mistakes and create bad karma, and that is purification. So purification is a practice we can do to clear up any negative karma that we've created in our day. So it's actually a good thing to do every day, because most probably we do create negative karma each day. But we can also purify things we've done before. The general practice of purification involves 4 things, 4 points, which are called 4 powers, 4 opponent powers. First is regret. And regret is not the same as guilt. So there's a difference between regret and guilt. I think we all know guilt. We're all familiar with guilt. That's very common in our culture. And I think of guilt as being more emotional, like we feel really awful about something that we've done, and maybe we get into beating ourselves up and thinking, I'm a horrible person. Now, regret, on the other hand, is not so emotional. It's more rational, more reasonable. Regret comes from understanding karma, understanding and believing in karma, accepting karma. So you understand that karma works. we do actions, and those actions leave imprints on our mind, which stay in the mind until some point in the future when the causes and conditions come together, the imprints ripen, and we have some kind of experience as a result of that. So they say regret is similar to the way we would feel if we unknowingly swallowed something that was poisonous. So that's the feeling of regret. That's the first power. The second power is refuge. A refuge is an attitude, a state of mind that comes about by learning what the Buddha taught and feeling confidence, feeling trust in the Buddha and his teachings, agreeing with them and wanting to follow them. So that's just in general what it means to take refuge, very simply speaking. So if you're a Buddhist, then the second power would involve renewing your refuge or sense of commitment to the Buddha and his teachings. But if you're not a Buddhist, then you may have other objects of faith that you have faith or trust or confidence in, and that you take as your guides and wish to follow. So, so you could just renew your determination to follow those objects of your faith. And it can also involve generating or renewing your wish to benefit others, your feelings of compassion and love and kindness towards others, and the wish to not harm them and the wish to help them. Then the third of the four powers is what I call remedy. And this involves doing something positive or virtuous to counteract the negative thing you've done by creating this bad karma. So you can do traditional virtuous things like saying prayers or reciting mantras, or meditation on loving kindness, or meditation on other aspects of the path. But you could also be creative and find your own ways of doing something virtuous that is a countermeasure to the negative thing you've done. Like, for example, if you did something that was like stealing or cheating, then you could give money. You could give a donation to charity or to some good cause. So generally we need to do something positive, something virtuous to oppose or counteract the negative thing we've done. Then the fourth power is the power of resolution or determination. And that involves generating in your mind some kind of determination about refraining from doing the same thing again in the future. So this is really, really important, because if we do something negative and then we say, oh, I'm sorry, and we do some purification, but then we go back and do it again and again and again, then it's not so wise or helpful. So there needs to be at least the wish to, even if we can't get to the point where we'll never do it again, but at least to lessen the amount of time we do it, to decrease the incidence of doing that same action again. So they say you can, if it is something that you feel, I will never do it again, and you can make that kind of promise and keep it, then okay. But if it's something that you have been doing habitually and you wouldn't be able to just stop it altogether, then you could make a promise to not do it for a limited period of time, like the next 5 minutes, or the next hour, or the, half a day. So find something that's reasonable, that's within your abilities, and try to just be aware and mindful for that period of time, and try to refrain from doing that action again. So there are particular practices in the Tibetan tradition for purification that are all sort of written up and set up that include these four powers. One of the more famous, popular ones is the practice of Vajrasattva. It's a particular Buddha figure that we visualize, and then we generate these powers: regret, thinking about the things we've done, we feel regret for, generating refuge, and the wish to benefit other beings. Then for the power of the remedy, we recite a mantra. There's a mantra associated with Vajrasattva. There's a long one that's got 100 syllables. And there's also a short one that is very simple, Om Vajrasattva Hum. And so you recite that mantra, and that's particularly good to purify, to clear out negative karma that's been created. then at the end of the practice you generate a resolution to refrain from doing the action again. Another one is the 35 Buddhas, which is a tanka here, showing the 35 Buddhas. So that practice involves, again, first thinking about the things you want to purify, generating regret for them, and then taking refuge in the 35 Buddhas, and then reciting their names. So reciting the names of these 35 Buddhas, and if you can, doing prostrations to them at the same time, bowing to them. That is for the third power, the power of the remedy. So that's a very virtuous thing, to recite names of Buddhas and also prostrate to them. And then you go through a prayer of confession of the negative things you've done, and then at the end generate a resolution to not do it again. And like I say, it's good if we can do a purification practice every night, because probably during the day we have done things that were negative, and if we don't purify, then another thing that happens with karma is that it multiplies. So if you do something negative one day and then you don't do anything to purify it, by the second day it's multiplied, it's become worse, heavier. And that happens each day that we don't purify. So the sooner we can purify, the better. So that's why it's a good idea to do it at night, to purify any negative karma we've done during that day, so that at least we stop it from multiplying until the next day.
I think the first thing that I started to do in terms of a daily practice was actually I used to do some meditation before I was a Buddhist, but it was more like set my motivation as taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha for the sake of all sentient beings. So then that would be the main thing. I think that was for a good few months. Then I was interested in prostrations. I got very drawn to doing that. And then the whole thing with purification, which I didn't really know about, but as I did prostrations I learned more. So I did the 35 Buddha practice. Every day I would do at least 35. I used to do like 100 every day. Sometimes it would, because of when I started to work full-time, night duty and things like that, it would be difficult. So I'd just do the basic commitment. But then obviously when I was in retreat, I don't know how, but I managed to do like maybe 1,000 or so a day. Or I think maybe at one point I got up to 2,000. But I don't know what the quality was. But it was really different. When I did intensive, you could see the lam rim, impermanence, precious human rebirth, and in renunciation. You could feel that these are things I really need to realize. I mean, I got to feel a little bit of the quality of the lam rim. I went back to England and I trained as a nurse. I realized that my practice was out there with people, caring for them. They're the priority. If I have spent time doing my practice in the morning, then I go to work, my heart is really so much more open. And I'm focused on them. Otherwise, I can be a little bit more interested in me, or I must go and get my breakfast or whatever. But I also think that the work helps to open my heart as well. Actually, it works both ways. So my practice helps my work, but my work helps my practice. I see so much suffering in that job. It's hard work, but yet because I have the Dharma, there's a bigger perspective, and I can do prayers for people. So when I come home, which is really important, I feel like it's my duty, as a Buddhist, for me as trying to develop bodhicitta, that I pray for all my patients that they will become enlightened soon. So at the end of the day, I do Vajrasattva to purify everything. So I try to think about everything I've done in the day that's negative karma, but also try to expand that's not just today. That's many times this life, many times in many lives. So I try to really expand that. And then do the Vajrasattva meditation, recitation, and try to make a promise to not do those things for as much time as I feel I can. And then I dedicate. And I try to do a dedication that it includes all the people that I care for in the hospital, family, friends, and I try also to expand it to as many people I can think of, because I think it's something very important about focusing on individuals in the dedication. But obviously I used the dedication for all beings. I'd love to do my practice, I really do. And I feel so sad when I can't spend so much time on it. It makes me feel really sad. And I've noticed when I've had lots going on in my life and I haven't been able to do my practice, I'm not happy. I'm not a happy person, and I also don't like doing my practice as much, which is quite interesting. And when I have time and I do my practice, I'm a happier person.
And are you able to see my screen at all?
No, not yet.
Okay, hold on. Let me share then. Can I share this? Let's see. Oh yeah, I can. There we go.
There it is.
Okay. All right, let me see if I can go back once. Okay, there we go. Okay, guys, so let's bring the attention back. That was a wonderful video. What a great way to start. Put a good perspective on why we're actually in this particular module, establishing the daily practice. So let's all bring our mind back to the class. We'll do a short calm abiding meditation. This kind of meditation at the beginning of any class kind of helps with concentration. It helps us focus and kind of brings the focus back to where we need to bring it to. So most of you are familiar with it, but just for purposes of the first one, we'll just, wherever you're sitting, if you're in the Kadampa on the cushion, obviously you want to sit in a Vajra position, keeping your back straight. And if you're seated on a chair, make sure your legs are on the floor, flat. Of course, if you're on the cushion, you want to have a Vajra position, cross-legged. Your arms are relaxed underarm. You're not too constrained, not too tight, okay? And your hands, the right hand above your left hand, and your thumbs are touching right about 1 or 2 inches right below your navel. Your head is slightly tilted forward. Okay, not too low, not too straight. Your jaw and your mouth are relaxed. Your tongue is touching the top part of the palate of your mouth, behind the teeth. And your eyes are slightly open, or you can call it slightly closed. All these things were put in place for only one reason, to make sure you're comfortable, so you don't fall asleep, you don't sweat, okay? And so you don't bite yourself, your relaxed mouth, and your eyes are to make sure you're aware, you don't fall asleep, okay? So let's just, at this point, scan your body, take any tensions out. And then focus your mind on your breath. Just going in and out. Feel the tingling by your nostril, or focus on your abdomen going in and out as you inhale and exhale. And you bring your attention to your breath. Please continue to keep your mind on the breath. And if your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back to your breath. Okay, with a bit calmer mind now, let's start with reflecting on why we are here. So let's set our intention that we hope to gain by studying the course that is entitled Establishing the Daily Practice. So inviting here all the various players in our life, our father, mother, all the members of our family, all those with whom we work, friends, and even those that agitate us. Even those whose lives we read about in magazines or in the news or hear about on the TV. Beings in different realms of existence. You know, being aware that all of us have exactly the same wish. We just want happiness. We don't want suffering. And recognizing the very precious opportunity that we have in our life. Having met teachings that provide us with very method, we need to free our minds from suffering and its causes and achieve every quality of being for the highest happiness and benefit. And then taking upon ourselves the responsibility of this opportunity to work, not only for the happiness of ourselves alone, but for the happiness of every single living being. And wanting to repay whatever kindness they have given us in life gone by. So then invoke in this place the presence of our teachers, all of our guides, gurus, lamas, protectors, all the various kind of beings who help us in our path. Seeing them manifesting here in this place in the aspect of Shakyamuni Buddha. And asking them to bless our mind to receive exactly the teachings that we need at this point in our spiritual development. Okay, now bring your attention back to the class. Okay, great. Okay, so this is an overview with a very limited time, usually in the first session due to the video. We're just going to go through a quick overview, just a couple of things to keep in mind. Some logistics about what reading materials we have, and then we'll end with the meditation. And then the next class will earnestly start with some of the topics of this module. Okay, so this is the 8th module. Okay, so let's just set the stage. So whether you are new to Buddhism or not, or if you're here to re-establish your practice, or simply to observe, what I'm asking you to do is anytime a topic comes up or something you read, ask yourself, why am I doing this? You know, now and then remind yourself, why am I doing this? Is it because somebody told me to? because it might be good for me. Whatever the case may be, just ask yourself, like a child does, right? Why? You've seen two and a 3-year-old child. Why? Why? It really confirms a few things for you. When you do that, question it, contemplate on it, make a connection between your reading and the path that you've chosen to. What will happen is you'll start to get a better understanding, okay? And then it will lead to joyful effort, not a burden, okay? And it will then lead to conviction. If you don't understand something, look it up. We have so many. We have Berzin archives, Lama Yeshe archives. Thupten Chodron has a beautiful site with all kind of teachings. These are all FPMT sites, and FPMT itself has a lot of information. We are an FPMT, so you want to try and look up lineage teachings. That is the best way to go, so you don't divert yourself into something else. Okay, so it's important. At least let's agree that that's what we will do. Question it. And come to terms with it and contemplate on it. So before this module, okay, before we go here, I was going to say, let's just go there. What is Dharma? We talk about Dharma practice. So what is Dharma? Dharma is that which holds us back from suffering. The quintessential example of Dharma is wisdom realizing emptiness, the nature of reality. Our mind having perceived that directly and eliminating all mental afflictions one by one, you get a realization. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to keep the slide there, but I'm going to talk about, before this class, you went through mind and its potential. You went to how to meditate, death and rebirth, presenting the path, karma, refuge, and relating to a spiritual teacher. I'm hoping that that's what we went through. I may have missed one. I don't know for sure. And what these teachings have done so far, these modules, has just prepared us to now do something about it and then integrate that into your life. This word integrate is very important. Our Geshe-la, Geshe Gelek, always says, I've been saying this for 15 years, 20 years, it's time to integrate. It's time to integrate. What does that mean? And put yourself in a moment, think about it. Are you integrating Dharma? Is Dharma your life, or is it a part-time thing? Okay, that's the question you should ask. That, okay, I've learned so many things, presenting the path, the Lamrim, and all these meditations, and I go to Monday morning classes and Wednesday classes, and I do a little bit of Buddha, this medicine Buddha, a little bit of chain, all these things are coming at you. And the idea, the thought is, why? What is it? And the whole idea, if you were to put it in a summary, is that we are learning these things we have habits. You heard that in the video, that we have this for many years, many lifetimes, we've created some habit. And to undo that self-cherishing, right? One of the Venerable talked about self-cherishing, the strong self thought of I. All of those things kind of hold us back. And what Dharma is teaching you, what integration means, is that by establishing some practices, we want to be able to make that part of your thinking. So you're undoing a lot of the negative chatter and converting that into something positive for yourself, something joyful, something that will bring you happiness and ultimately get you to enlightenment. That is why it is so important to understand, Dharma is not a part-time thing. This word is in Sanskrit called Dharma. I have a Dharma bag and I go to a Dharma center and I kind of do a Dharma thing. It's not like that. It's part and parcel of it, is to integrate some of these teachings in a very beneficial way for yourself and your mind. So, you learn about the mind and its potential, how vast it is. You learn basically the basics of meditation. You learn about calm abiding, concentration, analytic meditation, review meditations. And in presenting the path, you go through the entire path. Lama Zopa Rinpoche says, we have no idea how lucky we are that somebody put this together for us. and saying, here's the path. Just look into it, follow it, and you will reach Buddhahood. You're not reading 84,000 teachings. Somebody really, Lama Tsongkhapa did a wonderful job. Of course, Lama Atisha started with the book, and then Lama Tsongkhapa, our lineage teacher, our guru, kind of put it together for us. And you go through the scopes, and you go through the topics, and you find out somewhere you need to learn more, and you dive into it. But it is the actual path, okay? And then after that, you learn about the importance of having a spiritual teacher. You even learn about death and rebirth. Geshe-la just last class talked about it. Death is inevitable. We don't know when it's coming. It's going to happen. And what are we doing about it? And then it leads us to the precious human rebirth. There are many births here. There are so many people living, but why is it precious? It's important to understand. Okay, and we'll go through that in a minute. But just want you to understand, then you decide that, you know what, this is my path, I'm going to take refuge. And you start to learn about Four Noble Truths, and then you realize the aspects of the path. So now that you understand the topic, what is Dharma? Dharma is which holds us back from suffering. Okay? So here's a nice little statement from Shantideva. Just as a flash of lightning on the dark, cloudy night, for an instant brightly illuminates all. Likewise, in this world, through the might of Buddha, a wholesome thought rarely and briefly appears. They're always in a chatter mode, right? What's the next thing? Is always going on. But when you get these virtuous thoughts, when you're practicing, you're taking those virtuous qualities and you're putting that into your mind. So you want to take advantage of that. Okay? So let's talk about this analogy we have. Leather and butter. Our minds are like leather. It's a Tibetan tradition that, they take butter and then they work into this leather. And they work it and work it and work it till the leather becomes really fine, real malleable. And they make all kind of clothes out of it. They make all kind of wallets and purses and stuff like that out of it. On the flip side, if the butter is not worked and just sits in the pouch, there's this chemical reaction that takes place. And the pouch actually becomes very, very hard. Hard to the point where you can knock on it and the butter can just sit in it. It's just like a big pouch. Okay? So think about it. Our minds are like a leather. If you're not practicing and integrating on a daily basis, then your mind is going to become like that hardened pouch. And have you seen sometimes you get this distance in your mind, you create this gap. Oh, yeah, I've heard this before. Oh, yeah, it's the same stuff again and again and again. Your mind gets kind of in a torpor, like a little hardened a little bit. On the other hand, when you hear something you really like, for example, your favorite song, you get all warm feeling inside. Sometimes it brings even tears to your eyes. Or you see a teacher after a long time, or your loved one after a long time. You feel that warm feeling? That's what we want to generate. It's a joyous effort. And so you want to work towards that kind of a mindset. Okay, it needs to open that. So what we call that is a gap. We have a gap between Dharma and where our mind is right now. Too many things going on. And we want to close that gap. Close to the point where Dharma is life. You take the holy word Dharma out of it if you want to. It is a mind that is on the journey to become Buddha. Okay, removing negative mindsets, developing positive things. Remember, she talked about the 4 opponent powers. You regret the wrong things or non-virtuous things. You rely on the Dharma, the Buddha, the Dharma and the Sangha. You develop a remedy. You take the antidotes to all the non-virtuous actions of body, speech, and mind and do something about it, something positive, and then have resolve to make sure that you become Buddha to benefit others. Have that resolve. And those are the 4 opponent powers. They call them the 4 R's, right? Reliance and regret and remedy and resolve. And we had a venerable Tenderla in Kadampa, and she added the fifth one, and rejoice. Don't make everything this suffering, suffering, suffering. Remember, you did many virtuous actions to be in a human form and to be able to meet the Dharma. And you have a precious human life because we have those freedoms. If you remember from your classes before, the freedom from not being in an animal realm, for example, freedom from not being in a mental state of hell realms. Okay, you have a you don't have defective senses, and then you have some endowments. Born as a human, you're born in a country where you're able to sit and listen to Dharma. You have companions and your Sangha members to be able to help each other. There are many people who are not as fortunate, even today in this world. So those are some of the leisures and endowments we have, and that's why we call this a precious human rebirth. Okay? So make sure if you're still finding yourself, the ego is very strong, you're getting agitated, easily start judging others, putting blame on others, then allow the Dharma to soak into your mind and develop that warm feelings even in our heart again. That is the idea behind generating this, establishing the daily practice. So no more gap, Dharma gap, okay? So then let's see. So this is where it really gets going, where the rubber meets the road. So you've learned about mind and potential and the death and the rebirth and refuge and karma. And now you are to the point where you want to establish daily practice. And why we are establishing daily practice? To make our mind feel that warm feeling, change it to the positive from this negative things that we've been habituated with. Okay, so in this class, as an overview, we'll go through a lot of stuff. We'll talk about setting up an effective meditation session. We'll talk about components needed to experience some of the transformation in our mind through meditation. Setting up an altar. We'll talk about 6 preparatory practices. We'll talk about 7 limb prayers, mandala offering, what to meditate on and what order, a daily meditation practice by Lama Zopa Rinpoche, the advice he gives us. And there are in-between things. How do you function? You know, Geshe-la talks about that fish that goes through the ocean without making too many ripples. We gotta live. We have a job, we have family, we have people that are gonna come in your life that's gonna give you some unpleasant, verbal dissertation or whatever. Whatever the case may be, we need to learn how to maneuver ourselves with Dharma mind, right? So what do you do off cushion? Whenever we talk about meditation, people think about what you do on the cushion, but life doesn't stop. It's after cushion. You still have to drive, ride, go, take a bus, whatever. You need to go. Some people have job, some people have other responsibilities. So what do you do then? How do you protect our mind? So that's going to be part of this daily practice. And how to protect that mind going forward. And then obviously we heard about purification practices. We're gonna make mistakes. Things are not smooth. We are in samsara. We're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna happen very often sometimes, but there is a way out, right? We can purify ourselves. And so we're gonna go through a little understanding of the 35 Confession Buddha and Vajrasattva purification practice. Okay. Let me see. All right. So it's 8 o'clock. I'm gonna do a meditation on Shakyamuni Buddha, and then we'll end it. And then next Monday, we'll start with some general advice from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. So with that in mind, let's take that meditative position again. Put yourself in a comfortable position with your spine straight and taking a few deep breaths in and out. And spend a moment in giving yourself complete permission to let your mind be present in this meditation. not worrying about what has come before or being concerned about what is coming in the future, allowing yourself to benefit from this time. Now, briefly calling to mind our intention, our wish to be of benefit and to become completely awakened as quickly as possible in order to do that. Then, recognizing that as long as our minds are untrained, unconcentrated, it will be impossible to make real progress in our practice. So then, in order to fulfill our deepest wishes, we'll do this practice of concentration for the benefit of all living beings. So here's a visualization. Visualize at the level of your forehead, about 2 meters or about 6 feet in front of you, is a large golden throne. It is beautifully adorned with jewels and supported at each corner by a pair of snow lions. On the throne is a fully developed lotus. On that are the sun and a full moon discs. Upon the lotus, the sun and the moon is seated Shakyamuni Buddha, who has achieved perfect cessation of suffering and obscurations and has attained all perfect realizations. He is the manifestation of omniscient mind of all Buddhas, the ultimate guru. He is inseparable from your root guru, who shows unmistaken path and is bound with infinite compassion to you and to all sentient beings. His body, in the nature of golden light, is very magnificent, and he wears 3 robes of a monk. His face is beautiful and has a loving smile. His compassionate eyes look forward and towards you, but simultaneously encompass all sentient beings. His mind, free of all judgmental, critical thoughts, and accepts you fully. His eyes are long, narrow, and fine. His gaze is very peaceful. His eyes are half closed or half opened. His lips are red. His hair is blue-black, each hair individually curled to the right. On the crown of his head is a crown pinnacle. The palm of his right hand rests on his right knee, and the middle finger touching the moon cushion. His left hand rested in his lap in the mudra of meditation. And in his left hand, he's holding a bowl filled with nectar. His body is in a Vajra posture, and he sits peacefully in the center of interlaced beams of light. Each feature of his holy body represents an aspect of the omniscient mind, his inner attainments. Each feature also demonstrates the causes, that is, the merit that was collected in the past. And no matter how much one looks at Shakyamuni Buddha, one never feels satiated. The supreme refuge, Shakyamuni Buddha, encompasses the Guru, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And from his holy body, beams are emitted in all 10 directions. Numberless manifestations of Shakyamuni Buddha are carried on each beam to ripen infinite sentient beings. Now think, looking at me with compassionate eyes, Shakyamuni Buddha says, son or the daughter of the lineage, If you want to be liberated from the suffering of samsara, I will guide you. He happily promises this and frees me from the breathless state. So now, holding on to this image in our mind as clearly as possible with great energy of mind, allowing our mind to become completely absorbed into the image before us, the enlightened one, our teacher. And not being concerned with whether or not we can see the Buddha, but rather feeling the Buddha's presence. Holding that feeling strongly in the mind. Acknowledging that there is an enlightened one who only wants to teach and guide us, if only we can pay attention. And so with all of our hearts, pay full attention to the Buddha. If the mind fades, concentrate on the brilliance of the golden light emanating from Buddha's body. Concentrate on our wish to always be in the presence of our teachers and to be able to hear them whenever we have the slightest doubt. And please realize that Shakyamuni Buddha is not an image, he is an experience. And so hold the meditation for 1 more minute, trying to give it your undivided attention for the benefit of all. So let's dedicate. Now let's dedicate this merit of having made this effort to listen to the teachings to the swift enlightenment of each and every living being. Dedicate this merit that we ourselves might quickly attain the awakened state of a perfectly awakened Buddha and be able to benefit all living beings by leading them to that same state. May we generate the bodhicitta, which has not been generated, and may the bodhicitta, which has been generated, never decline, but always increase more and more. And may the gap between our mind and dharma be reduced to nothing. And may our minds become the perfect dharma for the benefit of all. Thank you. Bring your attention back to the class. Just a quick preview. Morning practices, this is what we'll cover next time. Evening practices, purpose of the daily practice, fine-tuning your practice, and so forth. Okay, these are some of the things that we will be covering in the next class. And then I ask you for your reading purposes. It is, I think when you registered, you received the document that says, you have at-home reading requirements, and that I suggest to at least read 1-pager advice for the daily practice. And then the second one talks about setting up the altar, but the longer piece is making life meaningful by Lama Zopa Rinpoche. at least attempt to start reading it. You don't have to finish it all. And then the last thing is beautifully written in the Liberation in Palm of Your Hand. If you have the book, there's a reading requirement. Day 4, it starts with day 4, and it's fantastic. It talks about, it starts with really talks about cleaning your room and arranging the symbols of an enlightened body, speech, and mind. Preparatory rites, it starts with that. So I would suggest that you at least make an attempt to read this on your own. Okay, and then we'll continue with some practices in next class. My goal was to stop at 8:15, no later than 8:15, and I think we're at 8:14 right now. And with that, I would like to thank you. Thank you for your patience, and we'll see you in next Monday. Linda, you have anything to say or any announcement?
I don't think so. I think you covered everything wonderfully. Thank you for your patience, everyone. And we'll meet back here again next week, and Hemant will decide if he's going to teach again from home or not. So I'll let you.
I think just to be on the safe side, I might continue to do this for a class or two, and if everything is good, I might just come in for the last 2 or 3 classes and meet everybody who are there.
Okay.
But for right now, this would be a good place to be. I still have a little chest congestion and all that, and so it's just better to be safe than sorry later on.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Thank
evening.
you.
You.
Good night.
Have a good
Thanks,
night.
Emma. Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you very much.
Ah.